Hey guys, my name is Connor and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to share my story, how I got into roller coasters and my life with them since. I will also talk a little bit about my channel, but mainly this is about how I became an enthusiast and my life as a coaster lover. To start this off, I'd like to talk about what got me into roller coasters. When I was about 6 years old, I got my first iPod, which is now locked for over 40 years, with internet access. This meant that I could get on YouTube. However, I didn't find coaster studios first, like many others do. Actually, what first got me interested was watching GP videos with clickbait thumbnails that now make me cringe really hard. They started appearing in my recommended over and over, and so I finally watched one. I was fascinated with how crazy all of the coasters looked, but I also thought the ones in the thumbnails were real, leading me to telling my family some interesting things about roller coasters. Hey mom, did you know that roller coasters can fly off the track and sometimes the loop is there and it doesn't always make it? Of course, now I know these things to be false, but at the time I believed every word that the GP videos held. However, I wasn't really scared by the videos. I had ridden a roller coaster and I was still alive, so I knew they couldn't be that dangerous. What the videos did for me instead was grow my interest in what kind of coasters could exist. I remember going to the search bar and typing in roller coaster and seeing dozens upon dozens of POVs pop up. I picked the first one, a theme park review POV of Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure, and watched it. It was awesome to me that it could exist, and I watched more and more. Soon after, I got into watching people's lists of the best roller coasters in the world. After watching a few, I came to the consensus that Kraken at SeaWorld Orlando and Millennium Force at Cedar Point were the best roller coasters in the world. I know, I was still very GP. However, things like this really were what started my time as an enthusiast. After a few months of being obsessed with roller coaster POVs, I knew almost every major coaster in the US. I got to know the coasters at my home park better and better, and decided to ride some of them. I had already ridden River King Mine Train, so I stepped it up a notch and took my first ride on a wooden coaster with Screamin' Eagle. At the time, it was the only coaster at the park besides the mine train that for whatever reason didn't scare me as much, so I rode it and loved it. It became by far my new favorite coaster. However, it wasn't my favorite ride since I for some reasons adored Thunder River and Intamin Rapids ride. The next year and visit, since we only went to the park once a year, I decided to get really brave. That day, I would ride two of the biggest thrill rides at the park. These were the Intamin Drop Tower, Superman Tower of Power, and Ninja. I loved Superman and rode it 2 more times that day, and it overtook Thunder River as my favorite ride in the park. Meanwhile, I hated Ninja. It gave me an awful headache, and I vowed never to ride it again, but I ended up breaking that vow fairly recently. Still though, it served its place as a major milestone for me, as it was my first coaster to take me upside down. Next year, I stepped it up 1 more level and rode the cloned B&M Invert, Batman the Ride. I loved it for the super smooth and fun ride experience, but the intensity gave me a slight headache and it was pretty disorienting. Even with that, it became my new number 1 ride. I also rode Pandemonium this year, and I didn't love it, but it was fun. I still hadn't ridden the Boss, Mr. Freeze, Boomerang, or American Thunder though, because all 3 of those rides were still very intimidating. However, I would be taking a trip out to Kansas City soon enough, where I would go to Worlds of Fun and I would conquer more fears. Worlds of Fun happened in 2014, and it held 1 new milestone for me, which was my first coaster to go backwards with Boomerang. I didn't like it much, but I was proud of myself. I did, however, still chicken out of Mamba, the park's Morgan hypercoaster. The height and speed of the massive structure was just too intimidating for 8-year-old me. Despite not riding what is arguably the park's best coaster though, I still loved the park and gained a new number 1 with Prowler, a GCI Woody. Worlds of Fun made me realize how much I really did want to visit other parks in the country, but due to money, I had to stick with Six Flags St. Louis for a while. I would, however, journey a little bit out of my normal amusement park rotation in 2017 to go to Silver Dollar City. This was yet another great experience where I rode my first RMC, which was an easy number 1, and picked up multiple other credits that I loved. I loved Silver Dollar City, but all good things must come to an end, and besides, I still had coasters left to ride at my home park, so I might as well get on with that, fast forwarding to a bit later in the year. I had heard very bad things about the Boss, but I would end up riding it on our visit despite this. I hated it, but I was still proud of myself. The same day, I also rode American Thunder, and unlike the boss, I loved it. It finally dethroned Batman as my favorite ride in the park, and it still holds that spot to this day. The following year, my family got season passes for the first time ever. I was thrilled, since I not only loved the park, but it would also give me more time to build up enough courage to go on Mr. Freeze, and I was right about this. I finally conquered my fear of Mr. Freeze, and I had metaphorically jumped over my biggest hurdle. After that, nothing scared me. Boomerang remained without my ride, but it wasn't because I was scared, it was because I didn't enjoy the Boomerang at Worlds of Fun, and the St. Louis one had previously derailed. In 2018, my biggest park visit occurred, which was a trip to Illinois to experience the amazing Six Flags Great America. Despite only getting 8 of the credits, I had a new favorite park and number 2 coaster. Anyway, those are my milestones, but I kind of skipped over how I really became a true enthusiast and how this channel began, so let's backtrack to before most of that coaster riding happened. And of course, like many other enthusiasts, the first true stage of my enthusiastness began with a YouTube channel, and in this case it was, as usual, Coaster Studios. I know I said he didn't get me into coasters, which is true, POVs did that, but Coaster Studios started to make me more of an enthusiast, specifically with his Coaster Fights and Park Battles series. These started to change my opinions on the best coasters in the world. I decided I was wrong before, and that now Intimidator 305 and Maverick were the 2 best in the world. I told my parents that we needed to go to a bunch of different parks, including Carowinds, Cedar Point, Kings Dominion, Kings Island, and Hershey Park. I started to become a real enthusiast, learning more about the stats of coasters, manufacturers, and the industry in general. As this stage began, I started to find other coaster YouTubers, such as Coaster Kids. I also saw videos of K'NEX coasters and found it insane that people could build such crazy structures out of plastic. My enthusiasthood was pretty much constant from here on out until the end of 2018. This was when I created my YouTube channel. At the time, I was only planning to post videos of K'NEX and countdowns to music, but then I decided I would do more. I uploaded Holiday in the Park footage from Six Flags St. Louis, and while it wasn't great, it was a start. I continued with these styles of videos before uploading my first review, which revealed my voice. I'm not sure why, but this felt like a major moment for my channel. Around this time, I also started talking with other smaller channels, including but not limited to Mr. Roller Coasters, SkullMountainFanboy, and Northern Rides. As my channel progressed, the videos got better and better, or at least I think so, and they eventually led to what it is today. Nowadays, I am a hardcore coaster enthusiast, and my friends from school would probably tell you too hardcore. However, the community I have found is very welcoming and accepting, and it is really where I have found my home. So thanks to all of you who have accepted me, it means a lot. But that's going to do it with my story of how I became a coaster enthusiast. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.